Brittney Griner now back in the United States. She landed in San Antonio this morning after being in Russian custody for months. Back in February, she was accused of bringing cannabis oil vape cartridges to a Moscow airport. President Biden making the decision to go ahead with the prisoner swap. Griner was traded for Viktor Bout, a Russian arms dealer known as the Merchant of Death. Here to talk about the deal is Chuck Todd from Meet the Press. So this is something everyone's talking about. Some people are happy about it, some are not. So we want to get your take. What do you think this decision or this exchange, do you think this was an even exchange?
Look, it's an impossible situation in this respect, right? You had it's not an even exchange, and I don't think anybody believes it's an even exchange. An arms dealer for a basketball player, somebody who committed crimes versus somebody who we don't even know if what the Russians say happened. But at the end of the day, does anybody deserve 9 years in a penal colony for a cartridge that might have had some CBD in it, right? So, however, you know, there is no equal match here, no matter how you look at it. But you also had a situation where you had you had an American citizen who is a gay African-American woman in a place that is very prejudiced against African-Americans, against gays and lesbians, and frankly is a bit misogynistic. This was not a safe place for her. There is 100% no doubt. So you wanted to prioritize her safety. At the same time, you don't want to be trading an arms dealer. So it's an impossible situation. Unfortunately, you're rewarding Vladimir Putin here. He proved that if you detain an American citizen, you can get an arms dealer out of prison in the American penal system. But at the same time, what was President Biden supposed to do? Say no to this? Then something might happen to her in custody. And so it's an impossible situation. And you don't want to be stuck in it. Obviously, you don't want American policy to be, oh, well, we'll negotiate with terrorists. And I don't think anybody wants to say that. But in practice, that's what it appears to be. And I think that long term, the threat of detained Americans in places like Russia, China, Turkey, I think is something that is going to become a bigger problem, not a smaller one. That said, it's good to have her home.
I think it's interesting because the relationship that the relationship with Russia, it's not necessarily, this did not necessarily build a strong relationship. This was just something that had to be done in order to get Brittney Griner home. What do you think how do you think this is playing though across the world?
Well, I think that, look, I think that there is some concern in free countries that this detention of Western citizens is going to continue to become a tactic that authoritarian regimes use, right? That is a concern. Now, the upside here is if the Russians are willing to negotiate on this, and they say they're willing to negotiate still on Paul Whelan, who they believe is a spy, which is why they wouldn't offer him. They want spy for spy on this. We have said he's not a spy. None of us have independent confirmation either way in the journalistic community. And I think I talked with Paul Whelan's brother yesterday, and he still believes, look, there are some detained Russian spies in countries like Norway and in Switzerland where it's possible they could be used as leverage or as a trade for Paul Whelan. So I think you could look at this situation and say, well, at least the Russians will sit down at a table and talk. And if you're thinking about how are we ever going to end this war with Ukraine, you know, maybe that's a glimmer of hope you can take away from this.
And we need glimmers of hope, especially at times like this. Chuck Todd, thanks so much. Make sure you tune in to Meet the Press this Sunday at 10 a.m. right here on WCNC Charlotte.